Welcome to the Now. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
And I'm John Reisinger.
By the hoary hosts of Hogos. Oh, I'm sorry.
You feel good about that one?
No, I already started off on a low point. So Doctor Strange releases next week. It's November 4th, marking the 14th entry into Marvel's massive cinematic universe. Yeah, 14.
That's a lot.
That's where we're at now.
However, Marvel, as always seems to be the case, is fairly confident in its new movie because reviews are already starting to drop, which means we can pour over them with our third eyes and ask we're gonna do all those jokes
just the 2 eyes.
the entire time with these stupid Doctor Strange references. Let's find out. Is it good?
You're a wizard, Harry.
You can't even say Harry right. Harry.
Harry. And by the wondrous wand of Watoomb. Hey, look, I'm pretty back. At least
By the eye of Agamotto and
all of those things. So far, the answer is yeah, it's real good. Doctor Strange is currently sitting at a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes with 23 reviews. That number is definitely going to change a little bit as more reviews start coming in, but so far that's a really solid start.
Yeah, that's not bad. Just to get a slightly different data point, Strange is also pulling down a score of 73 on Metacritic. That might sound low, but remember,
that's a bit of a swing.
Movie scale kind of weird on Metacritic. That comes out to around 3 out of 4 stars, which is totally acceptable in moviedom.
As for how that early percentage compares to Marvel's other outings, they're getting just a little bit too numerous to list all of them out at this point. There are 14 of them now, but it's in pretty respectable company compared to the most recent releases. Civil War closed out at 90%, Ant-Man was better than expected at 81%, Age of Ultron landed at 75%, Guardians of the Galaxy at 91%, Winter Soldier at 89%, and Thor Dark World at 66%. So we're looking more at the Guardians of the Galaxy end of the spectrum here, which is a great end to be on.
I like Thor too. What's wrong with people? The common magical thread among the reviews and critics seems to be that Benedict Cumberbatch is outstanding as the arrogant surgeon turned super sorcerer.
We know
Dr.
you could
Strange.
do it, Kerberger.
Good lord. Plus, many consider it to be one of Marvel's funniest movies yet, mostly because it's cleverly aware of just how ridiculous its own premise is.
Which is interesting because that's not something that's come up in the trailers at all. The
No.
trailers all seem to be quite serious in tone. So knowing that there's still that sort of Marvel brand of humor is cool.
They did that with Thor though, because Thor has an absurdity to it with all the mythology and weirdness of it, and
they
they
just
didn't
go
show
with
that.
it.
Yeah, they didn't show that in the trailers, but in the movie, there's a lot of levity and showing this is kind of odd. Also, there's quite a few reviewers calling out the visual effects and imaginative fight scenes.
I mean, it's basically like all Inception all the time, right?
Yeah.
No, so from the dark dimension, the complaints about the movie in general seem to be that it's too predictable. I mean, it's about an egotistical rich dude who gets an injury and then learns how to be a good guy before saving the world, so I'm not sure where they're going with that one. It's not like we've seen that in a Marvel movie before, but sure.
Yeah. Other reviewers dinged Doctor Strange on its less than stellar characters, while others felt that it struck just a bit too closely to Marvel's fairly recognizable formula, which wouldn't be too surprising considering that this is yet another origin story, their 5th one to be exact.
Right, so the criticisms aside, reviewers were by and large incredibly impressed with Marvel's successful attempt to bring yet another one of their weirdest characters to life on the big screen, and for many, Doctor Strange was one of the most refreshing superhero films yet, partly because it was so weird and imaginative.
Yeah, Variety praised the movie's fresh take on the MCU, writing, "Yes, this new project shares the same look, feel, and fancy corporate sheen as the rest of Marvel's rapidly expanding Avengers portfolio, but it also boasts an underlying originality and freshness missing from the increasingly cookie-cutter comic book realm of late."
Now, IndieWire, who called this Marvel's best film since the Avengers, said, "Finally, for the first time since the Avengers, the action scenes are special. Derrickson, the director, doesn't create any sequences that are fluid and symphonic as that film's Manhattan fight, but he compensates for that lack of grace with a surplus of wonder, contradicting time with space in order to create unique battles that outshine their familiar stakes."
The visual effects and battles were a big shining point of Doctor Strange for many of the critics who've already weighed in on about the film, with many writing that they felt like Inception meets The Matrix, meets an MC Esker painting. The Hollywood...
Isn't it Escher?
It's Asher.
Esker, you don't know.
He is a dream artist. He's wonderful and magical.
Fine, Escher. The Hollywood Reporter agreed. These are sequences, seen to outstanding advantage in 3D, that mind trip-seeking audiences back in Doctor Strange's origin days would have called far out, but today's fans will simply deem amazing.
I don't know, maybe we can bring Far Out back.
Sure, why not?
Beyond the fight scenes, though, the movie rises from the fray, not just thanks to Strange's cloak of levitation, but also its witty script, which is better than what we're managing today.
Yeah.
Variety said of the film's writing, "The key is an in on the joke script, which Derrickson co-wrote with John Spates and C. Robert Cargill, that ingeniously navigates major plot potholes, even as it saddles its actors with ludicrous dialogue.
All right. And for the most reviewers, that dialogue succeeded because of the skillful actors on screen. However, not everyone agreed that the actors, or the characters they were given life to, did such a good job.
Time out said of the film's characters, our hero is a brittle, unlikable snob, played by Cumberbatch as Sherlock with a slightly funny accent, a sports car, and slightly improved interpersonal skills. And he's the closest we'll get to complex. Swinton is basically Yoda without the humor, while poor Chiwetel Ejiofor has nothing to do but stamp and scowl as her sturdy sidekick Mordo. The character we're meant to care about, Strange's ex-girlfriend Christine, Rachel McAdams, is just a blank. Yeah, but she's Rachel McAdams.
That's a rough thing to say. Although to be fair, that reviewer also went on to say that the movie was super fun despite all that, so make of that what you will.
I hated everyone, but great movie.
Yeah.
So just to be a little bit fair here, not everyone topped their criticism off with praise. Forbes, in particular, panned the movie, calling it Marvel's most formulaic superhero flick to date. Which, I mean, when you think about it, is saying something. They also compared it to Green Lantern, which is an extra harsh burn.
Forbes wrote of Doctor Strange, "It is a hodgepodge of Kung Fu Panda, Green Lantern, and The Matrix, lacking distinctive characterization. It's the closest thing the MCU has yet offered to a generic superhero movie."
So, not everybody loved it. Of course, the big trick is going to be whether or not viewers fall in love with Benedict Cumberbatch's impersonation of Tony Stark, and this is a fairly important movie for Marvel's ambitious Phase 3 content, so I'm sure Marvel's hoping they do. It's introducing a new batch of heroes who aren't the main Avengers, like Black Panther's solo flick, The Wasp, and Captain Marvel. They've all got to follow this.
Yeah. Right now, early projections have Doctor Strange bringing in anywhere from 55 to 75 million in its opening weekend, which would actually place it just below Ant-Man's starting performance. That film brought in 81 million and 38 million in its first 2 weekends, totaling around 520 million worldwide during its theatrical run.
A similar $500 to $600 million haul wouldn't be bad news at all for the $165 million budget of Doctor Strange, and would really bode well for future Phase 3 projects, but it would also mean Marvel is still batting below the numbers of the main Avengers solo movies.
That sounds like a no shit statement on the surface, but remember, the Marvel is getting to a point where they need a new standout hero and star, especially as the original Avengers, namely Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth, are nearing the end of their movie deals with the upcoming Infinity War pictures.
So maybe word of mouth and the early positive press can help cast a spell.
Nope, stop it.
No, you can't stop me. Are you magic?
I'm not magic.
Then you cannot stop me.
Okay.
They can cast a spell on the movie going public. Yeah, I know it's bad, okay? Pushing Doctor Strange to the kinds of money that Marvel is looking for after Iron Man.
So, what do you guys think of the early reviews of Doctor Strange?
More importantly, what do you think of our amazing magical terms?
Bad stuff. Are you planning on seeing the movie? Let us know in the comments.
And for more Marvel movie news and ridiculous Doctor Strange quotes, because we'll have plenty of them, like this video and subscribe to The Know. You know what? Like, every time I doubt, every time
Even
it
Ant-Man
turns out fine.
okay.
I thought Ant-Man was gonna be rubbish. I was like,
Like, it doesn't have as much of the rewatchability as the other ones, but Ant-Man was good.
He gets real small because he has a special suit. Wow! And then it turned out it was amazing.
That was pretty good.